Alright, today I'm going to give my opinion on anti-malware review videos. And you've probably seen them before, most famously by Marizos and his anti-malware videos. Basically what he does is he takes a virtual machine, takes an anti-malware antivirus app, installs it, throws 10 pieces of malware at it, and calls it. And I'm going to talk about why this system is a little bit flawed and why you should think for yourself before doing anything like that. And the first problem is that the environments that people test them in are always virtual machines. These are never on physical computers. And this is a big problem because VMs are too well controlled. A lot of antivirus apps don't do well in a VM. Most famously, Kaspersky does not run in VirtualBox at all. And some malware doesn't even execute in the virtual machine. This is what would be defined as VM aware, knowing that it's in a VM and not running. If anybody wanted to debug or to troubleshoot a rogue or something, it won't run in a VM. And this is always tested on one virtual machine with nothing installed. It's plain Jane Windows XP and maybe some updates, but that's about it. And the next problem I have is that it's always a small amount of samples. Most famously, it's 10 samples. This is clearly not enough because most samples that people get come from malware domain lists, MDL. And anybody in the business knows that that's the latest list. There are a lot of other sites that are much earlier in getting new stuff, but that's the latest one. So those are usually well known, those have already been submitted to AV vendors, and they're just too common. And most of the time people test Trojans only. Now Trojans do make up a huge percentage of all malware out right now, but you rarely see a lot of rootkits and worms. These are important too. You also rarely see a lot of phishing sites. A lot of antivirus apps don't block a lot of phishing sites. And the proper amount should be at least 1,000. 10 samples simply isn't enough to say this detects more than that. And performance in a virtual machine, or performance in any machine. Some apps are a lot slower than others. Some take up more memory than others. Now, this makes a big difference on a consumer's computer because they have different processors. They might have an i7, they might have a P3. You might have different types of RAM. You might have 2 gigs of DDR3, or you might have 256 DIMM RAM. And the OS, you got Windows 7, you got XP, you got 2000. A lot of different people, and you're not going to be able to test all of this by yourself. And a lot of pre-installed programs may interfere with the antivirus app. This happens a lot with programs that might have adware, might have Ask Toolbar, stuff like that. And some apps like to break computers. Most famously, Komodo's apps usually try to destroy my machine. And a little bit more far-fetched, but still a problem, is the possibility of there being bias. And sometimes a reviewer is involved in the community, and they might be involved with other companies, they might be doing work for them on their forums or something like that. Now, how would you feel if the magazine Macworld, who does the expo all the time, if you asked them to review, iPhone 4 versus the new Windows Phone 7? Well, I think you guys know what the result would be of that, but, that's pretty much the same thing when you say, hey, review Komodo, But although they have flaws, they usually have good intentions. But just like to warn everybody to always take all of their reviews with a grain of salt, test them yourself before you buy, and just think for yourself.